There we go. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Movement. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Zoe Levine, and we are here for the long journey. Yes, we get to move a little bit in this next 20 minutes, but hopefully all of the things that you learn and practice starting here will guide us into this whole new direction throughout the whole year, toward a place of feeling more comfortable in your body, more room to breathe, less strain on your joints. And this can be applied to all of your life. Yay. This is not just about the office, everyone. But can be lovely for the whole body, for the whole rest of your world and your life. For today, let's start reviewing. Last week, we talked about that spinal twist. Has anyone had a chance to play with that? I know I felt very different doing it so many times. I felt very different all the rest of the day. I was like, oh, hey there, feeling okay. Has anyone started to find a place where that can go while you're sitting in your chair before and after sitting? Anyone play with that spinal twist motion yet? Okay.
I
Good.
did. Kelly and I were at a conference last week, and sitting for that long and doing that movement really helped to stay engaged and to make sure that we weren't so sedentary that we weren't able to receive new information.
Yes. And it doesn't work that way, right? When you sit for too long, you're like, I do feel unable to receive any new information.
Right.
You're like, we got to wring this out, make room for the new, bring it out, make room for the new. I love that image and I love that use.
We did
and
our
many-
snow globe arms on a break too with each other, just to give us a
Amazing.
full stretch.
That's another one that doesn't feel too weird, right? Like that could be expected. It's just like I'm yawning my arms around, but maybe I'm doing a few extra little things. It's not that crazy. I love that. And
Laura and I had to record a video yesterday, and we were feeling kind of just like awkward and stiff. And like, I was like, what do I do with my arms? And I was like, I do snow globes with my arms. So we started doing snow globes as like a warm up to being on camera in a more natural way. And I feel like it helped. We'll find out when we see the video.
when you see it. Yeah, that's a great idea. I come from a dance performance background, so moving more, even when I have needed to speak, that's always my go-to, is to kind of move my body so it can just kind of rest instead of being right. There's a difference between a restful, flowy, I'm so nervous place and a like stuck tight, I'm so nervous place. So that's a really amazing use of that as well. All sounds great. Let's get us moving. I was going to say, maybe we're going to start with the twist. And then I want to add to, if you find yourself all day with meetings or even in a public place, the next thing that I want people to feel more comfortable doing, and I think it's a stretch, but I'm going to put it here anyway, is our hamstring length after sitting is such a great one, but there's only certain situations I understand maybe that you would feel super comfortable. I would like to bring that back to a place where you could feel comfortable doing that anywhere. First, let's review just a simple spinal twist. Again, a way to give us length in the spine, right? Our spines tend to feel and get a little compressed throughout the day. Whether or not you actually shrink down to make this posture, just seated vertically for a long time or standing vertically for a long time, it might need a little wringing out. And then the idea energetically, a wringing out of like the sponge, right? I've got too much, I've done too much, wring it out, fresh. And that fascially is almost exactly what really does happen. So energetically, mentally, all the things might serve you well by finding a couple spine twists. So the one we played with the other day was finding your sits bones. We've been practicing finding that perch on top of your sits bones, right? So not behind, not too far forward where you kind of sink down again. It's like that bitty top of your sits bones. And I mentioned if you're on a more firm surface, that might feel uncomfortable at first. The more you do it, the more your body will get used to it. Here, we also played with Jenny about how settling the ribs down in the front and letting the kidneys breathe open a little bit without chomping them, crunching and chomping those kidneys in the back, giving them a little breathing room, even as you're perched on your sits bones. And if you want to kind of wiggle those kidneys back and forth for a second, just to say, hey, yeah, this is the part that we're gonna not crunch and squish. And then just kind of let them float up. So your shoulders will not be squeezed back. Your chest will not be popped up. We'll get eventually to opening up the thoracic spine, but for now, just the ribs, settle in. We don't want to be arching back for this. And start with your eyes. So the eyes, just do your eyes right all the way and your eyes left all the way. Your eyes need just as much of a break. That'll be its own habit at some point. And just see if you can get a sense of what happens in the back of your neck. Do you feel that in the back of the neck? Just a tiny hint of movement, not that you're turning your head. Notice if you feel the connection there. It's pretty awesome if you do. And then look all the way to the right as far as you can. Let your eyes lead you. So your eyes are going to pull your head and your neck and then your shoulders. And you're sitting tall, but remember we talked about tall through the back of the spine? We usually think about tall as the front body, and then that crunches the back body. So it's slinky tall. It's like you're unraveling the slinky with lots of space between every vertebra on all sides. And then eyes lead back. Eyes go to the other side. Eyes lead you. Eyes pull you. It's like your eyes are trying to look further and further and further and further back, and your head follows, and your head pulls your neck, and your neck tugs on your shoulders and your thoracic spine, and then you let that take your ribs as far as they're going to go without pulling on your chair, right? Just how far do you naturally go? Stay there for a moment, and can you breathe length through all sides of that slinky, right? Do you feel that would be different than if I told you to sit tall? Most of you would kind of dive backwards and open up the front of the slinky. Good, come back to the center and just play with that a couple of times. Eyes lead. The eyes is bonus points. You don't always have to do it. It's just the top of that deep spiral. If you're gonna think of neck as starting way up high. So eyes are bonus points. You don't always have to do it. I'm still not using your hands to pull myself further. You're just kind of going wherever you can. While you take a long breath, fill up that slinky on all sides, especially the kidneys. And then try the same thing to the other side. Eyes could lead. If you forget, or if you just head leads, that's fine too. Add a bonus detail. Stay there for a moment. Again, I'm not pulling myself with my hands. I'm just kind of seeing where I go and breathing length through the spine. You might notice your further just because we've done this already, right? The more you get to that spot, the more you'll go. The next time through, if you would like to use your hands, you could have a little support to pull you a little bit further. You're not cranking. This is not a cranking. It's just a gentle encouraging of more. You're still perched on your sits bones. You've still got that long hold all sides, and you can breathe length into all sides. Your head might be dropped down a little bit. And notice if you like it better with a little support to go further. And then same thing on the other side. Eyes, head, shoulders. Maybe you grab a chair. And just take a moment to stay there. You're not cranking it out. You're just like, hello. Now, so even if you stay here and find the breath will help you find that twist in the length and get that wringing out of the sponge idea. And then come back to the center. And in the center, maybe you do just a little shake around on your sits bones and just feel, even if you let your chest popping out, just settle. You might feel slightly slouchy. Your kidneys can breathe, and maybe you feel a little taller or longer or more breathy through the spine. Yeah, beautiful. Go ahead and stand all the way up. I invite you to, we're gonna do a little shakeout again. We did this that one time I was in the car, for any of you that were in here for the half of it from the car session. That was a thing. So I invite you just to shake anything that feels good. It might feel nice to shake your shoulders and your hips a little bit because we just worked your spine. You could bobble your head. Nothing has to be extremely vigorous. It could be pretty light. And maybe that's something that it's like I'd love to normalize a little shaking every once in a while in the office or at a conference. You know, that idea of just shake it out. You've had a lot of material thrown at you. So same idea. Could you just like shake to refresh? And with your legs, you can kind of move your knees a little bit to shake, butt shake. It could be like really wild, or it could just be that a subtle shake. You can shake out your legs like you're trying to shake something off. But this kind of small thing, I feel like you could do that at a conference. I mean, maybe I've only been to, health, wellness, movement conferences. So maybe not. I don't know. Shake it out. And let your head bobble a little bit too. And once you've kind of gotten everything, maybe you have a tiny bounce into the floor just to feel your feet. And settle in and notice how that gives you a little refresh. Like, I almost think of like a snow globe. You could shake up all the snow in it and then let it fall. And sometimes it's just a better way to fall. So notice if that got you any shift. And then the one exercise that's going to be really lovely that we've done, the habit that we've done before, is the one where you use your chair. I have shared desk. You can either do the pull away version if your shoulders are tight, or the hanging out if it's just your hips, right? The hang out, it could be on the back of the chair, it could be on your desk. Forms on desk could work here too. And it's just the one where I want you to be really aware of your sits bones. If you have to grab, you can to know where they are, that's fine. But what I don't want is our butts get glued to our hamstrings sometimes, and then sits bones are like poking under. I want you to free those bones. You could bend your knees if you have to, if your knees feel fine, but it's just that kind of opening up of the backs of the legs, right? So there's a million different ways to do this. We've talked about a bunch of them. Feel free to do whatever feels good for you right now. But it's going to lead us, that kind of opening is going to lead us to our habit for this week in a moment. Then this is the other one that I really love to normalize in kind of any setting, taking a break and being able to move around and open up the backs of the legs, even if it was just a little hello, and then you're back to it, you're having that conversation, or you're sitting back down, whatever it is. But being able to have some time to open up the backs of your legs. I'm telling you, when people come to me with their back pain, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, a lot of it, not all, a lot of it would be so dramatically different if everyone just had more space in that sits bone to hamstring connection, right? So longer space in the hamstrings, and hanging out here is one way to get it, right? Okay. That folding, that bend in the hips, right? You feel that? There's a bend in the hip crease. It's not this. This is what will destroy your backs, picking everything up from this bend down. We'll do 500 different things to help you find this. This is just one of them, just pointing it out. This hinge in your hip crease, right, in the hip socket, is very different from this fold in your spine. All right, so this is a weird one. This is my new way of teaching. This week is about finding a squat. And yes, eventually I do mean like this kind of squat. This ability is what I eventually mean. I do not mean it right now. For now, here is our baby step. You ready? It's going to take putting your foot on an office chair. So you might want to take your shoes off if that feels okay. It depends on where you are and what's okay in your space. But this will be kind of our baby step for our bodies today. So I'm going to use this bench as my chair because it won't roll away. If your chair is going to roll away, just take caution with this one. And if there's a way to stop it from rolling away, go for it. I can scoot that a little bit. All right. One foot on the chair. The other foot is behind you and you're standing upright. So you kind of have this angle here, right? About a 90-degree angle. It might be a little higher or lower depending on how tall you are. All we're doing is practicing finding, it's this crease, right? So ultimately it's this crease that we're looking for, right? It's this crease that we're looking for without kind of slouching into this place, right? Finding that nice sharp angle, sharp in a good way, all right? So our practice is one foot on, and you're just gonna sit your butt back, and you'll get caught, right? Your hip is gonna stop you. You're gonna be like, that's as far as I can go with my sits bones aiming back, and then come back up. It's more of a stretch. You might feel, some of you might feel it as a little bit of a strength move, but it's more likely just a stretch. And it's different than our long stretches, right? We have long stretches. This is a folding ability. And notice I'm sitting my butt back, right? So we're vertical here. You've got one leg that's in front of you, and you're sitting your hips and your butt opening, little happy bunny tail back. And you're only going so far, like where does that hip crease stop you, right? Where does that hip crease stop you? If this is feeling, and keep it small, right? It could be small. You're just looking for what is that stretch. I'll show you with the other leg in a moment. Still on the same leg. You could play with where that foot is. It's going to get you the lifted chair foot. It's going to give you a different angle of stretch into that. It's like several different sorts of squats. It's all the same thing. We're still finding that fold in the hip. You could turn out the foot and see how that feels. Be gentle. You could hold on to something if you feel like you're a little wobbly. Just find a bunch of that. Sits bones open and up gently. Not so much that you feel like you're crunching your low back, right? The ribs are in. Just find a little like, hey, fold. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Think out of it. Hey, fold. And the fold that I'm really interested in is the leg that's up. That's what's getting the sharpest fold, right? Take a break from that and just stand on your own 2 feet. Notice how different one side is from the other. You could walk around on your different legs. You feel how different that is? And we spent quite a bit of time doing that. You could do it shorter than that. I'm going to put my other foot forward so you see the creased side a little bit more. So you're standing, head is over hips, over a foot. The other foot is out and on a chair. That's it. And even this might be a stretch, like just sitting your hip down might already be like, oh, I'm there. Like I don't go any further than that. That's fine. Maybe it's just a little lean forward and that's it. Otherwise, you might start getting into that droopy spine, right? Spine stays, you're just finding a fold. If it works, you could bend the bottom leg and just both sits bones trying to sit back. That one that's lifted, right? Your lifted leg is going to get caught up. It's not going to be able to go really far. It's just small. Just like you're sitting into it, right? If we were doing fitness squats, it's like you're trying to sit back. Same thing here. It's like you're trying to sit back. With your foot on a chair, you're very limited in your range on purpose because this is new for us and because there's varied levels here. And even if you've got a squat like what I just did, I'm telling you this, it still gives you a lot more space, right? This is still a good setup for me and I can do that squat up and down all day. So whether you're totally a beginner, use lots of support around you, hold on to things and keep it small. Or if you've already got your squat down, this is still all as far as I go, right? And it's still a nice stretch at the bottom. You can play with moving that top foot around, right? Just see how that feels. You could turn it out a little bit. You could move it a little forward. Maybe you don't like it there. Move it a little back. Maybe you like it better. And just explore, because ultimately we have room to move all different angles on the hip, right? So this is our baby step, build a squat. This is a little bit more weird. Walk around your room, stand on your own 2 feet for a second. Right? More freedom. Freedom in your hips. Now sit down. As we kind of check in at the end here, sit down. And is it easier? I always ask this, right? Is it easier to be perched up on your sit bones here? Right? Can your pelvis just kind of find it and be like, oh, yeah, I don't have to work so hard. Interesting. Did anyone find that? A little bit? Oh, a lot of shaking heads. That's huge. You know what that is? I say this all the time. Everyone's like, why do you have you have good posture because you were a dancer. And it's like, I mean, yes, and my pelvis is open enough that my sits bones can just perch. And once your sits bones are perched, everything else can just hang out stacked on top, right? If your sits bones are naturally wanting to be here, the rest of you can't be tall. And if it's trying to fight against that tension in your hips the whole time, it's just going to be a lot of work and you're not going to want to be there. Some of you may have experienced that before. I certainly have. But so that's it for today. That's our new habit. Is very strange. I dare any of you to do this next week because it's weird. It's so strange, right? So I dare you to do it. I dare you to share it with someone else and see if it helps you sit better, see if it helps your back feel better throughout the day. It'll change the way you walk. If you already have a habit of going out for a walk, doing something like this really before you walk at home, even, great idea. You can get back to me and let me know how your experiment went, what it felt like. And that's it. Any questions before we all say hi or bye? Thanks, Kelly. Awesome. All right. So take that with you, tell a friend, bring it on back. Let me know how it goes next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Nice
you.
word.